Hi, welcome to the video, and today we are going to talk about Bitcoin. And recently there was a mini flash crash where it dropped 11.1% from highs of $50 or $64,000 all the way down to $53,000, and at one point it even hit $51,000 or $52,000. And for me at this point in time, it wasn't that alarming. It was more like I felt stressed because I had no cash and I really wanted to buy more, and I felt a lot of FOMO. In today's topic, I actually want to go over some comments because I think reading comments, it's a really good way actually to get a feel of the pulse of what people are feeling. And on Facebook, you're going to get a lot of trolls and a lot of very uneducated comments, but in reality, these are the people in the market. These are the people that do influence Bitcoin, because ultimately Bitcoin is only as valuable as we deem it to be. Bitcoin, to me, my interpretation of it is that it is digital gold, meaning it's a store of value, and at some point it might become a type of currency, but I wouldn't deem it a currency right now because currencies need to be stable, and right now it's unstable because Bitcoin is still very young. I think once it has 100 or 200 or 300 years behind it, and yes, that's the time frame I'm looking at, that's when it might truly be stable and actually be able to replace currency. As is right now, it's more akin to gold. And gold, remember, it became a store of value because it had some inherent net worth, because it takes a lot of energy to mine. But in addition to that, its utility is that you can also transfer it in a decentralized way, meaning everybody that owns a piece of Bitcoin can see the whole blockchains, can see the history of all the transactions that's ever happened, and we don't need to report it or have a middleman kind of managing everything. But I digress. Let's go over some of these comments and I'll give you my opinions. Some of these comments you are going to disagree heavily with, and I'm going to show you the names, but this is all public, so anybody who's commenting on this Reuters thread, their name's going to show up, you're going to have their comments, and don't send any hate at anybody. Don't think of these people as individuals. These are parts of how the market feels. And even within myself, even as a crypto bull, when I see these bearish comments, these are also considerations and risks that I personally think about. So I'm not thinking of these as individuals that I have a vendetta against. I'm thinking of these as ideas, as different fears and or hopes that people have about Bitcoin. But yeah, let's dive in. So here Joshua says, all Ponzi schemes eventually crash and burn. Anyone holding a piece high and dry, the ones that profit are the ones that get out before the collapse. So if we look at this like to laugh ratio, we can get a sense of how many people agree and how many people might think it's funny. So this is about 50-50. So 17 people agree and 70 people think this is a hilarious sentiment. And this is something that I think people who don't really understand what crypto is might think it is. It's not a Ponzi scheme, because a Ponzi scheme implies that the people at the top can only survive by selling more to the people at the bottom. Price of Bitcoin does increase generally when you are able to sell more, but there's a finite supply of Bitcoin, and the value of Bitcoin could change separately from how many people you sell it to, just because sentiment could be very negative. So people at the top who I guess own more Bitcoin, it's just not a pyramid. Like they could still lose a lot of money if Bitcoin crashes. This isn't really accurate. And here you can see the secondary comment. The ones who are running the operation are basically the founders. I've been trying to tell people this, but they don't understand it really well. And I think here Dan Ross gives a good rebuttal, better than what I said. There are no founders anymore. The code base is managed open source by developers who volunteer their time and effort to submit updates. The point is that you can see the original wallet addresses on the blockchain, so we can clearly see that the founder wallets have not moved any Bitcoin around since their creation. That's the beauty of the blockchain technology. It's all transparent. So one telling sign of a Ponzi scheme is if the people at the top are taking out their money or they're reinvesting it. But the beauty of Bitcoin is that we can actually see what exactly they are doing. And you know, Bitcoin has been around for more than a decade now. So if there were heavy selling at the top, that might be some cause for concern. But at this point, it's all transparent. You can see the full blockchain. You can see the history of it. It's up to you as the individual to decide if you think this has value, if you think it has worth. And personally, I have 5 different exchanges that I'm playing or trading some crypto around just to get a better understanding. And I actually like how it feels. It makes me feel lighter when I'm transferring cryptocurrency. Now, it's not perfect, and there ways that you could lose some money if you're not careful, because you have to be in charge of your wallets. You have to make sure your addresses are correct. But just not having that middleman to report to when I'm transferring money between my accounts, I'm starting to feel the utility now. I'm starting to experience it. So before you just blindly invest into cryptocurrency, I encourage you to invest a little bit first and try transferring it to buy something, or transferring it just between exchanges and see how it feels. Let's go look at some other comments. This comment isn't going to age well in 10 years. He's referring to the parent comment, who was a bear. Let's go look at some more of the highly rated ones. So this one, are tulips really worth $10,000 a bulb? People really thought so until they did not. Now this one has a lot of comments and some love symbols. 45 likes, 2 hearts, to 15 laughs. So a lot of people agree to this. Now, this tulip story, I'm just going to go off memory. It's basically, there was a tulip craze and the price of tulips became super jacked up, super way worth more than tulips have ever been worth, because people just really wanted them. And there is a seed of truth here. I mean, actually, there's actually a big grain of truth, because again, Bitcoin is only as valuable as we deem it to be at this moment. So if we really think Bitcoin is worth $100,000, that's what it's worth. At the same time, some people could think it's only worth $1,000 or it's useless, and the Bitcoin currency would drop accordingly if enough people believe that. So this is something that you should be careful of. Personally, I have an end of the year price target. It's not controversial, of roughly $100,000. This is based on a lot of the experts that say or see Bitcoin having a $400,000 or $500,000 per coin cap, just because that would make it roughly $10 trillion, which is comparable to gold right now. But actually, people think that it will surpass gold, because eventually, who knows what's the future of fiat currency. The reality is, the trend of our world right now is definitely moving towards digital, especially with even this NFTs going. Like the physical assets we own that we used to collect are also being converted to digital. So I think the ceiling for Bitcoin price is actually quite high. In the short term though, who knows? It could go up, it could go down 90%. It's really hard to tell. A lot of people are predicting some type of crypto winter where all of the crypto market just gets hacked in half or even more. So just be aware. I would not personally invest more than 20 or 50% of your holdings into crypto. It's still relatively safer to invest in companies that have a physical backing, in my opinion. Comparing flowers to blockchain technology whilst not comprehending the reason of the dip in price. Now, the main reason that Bitcoin probably dropped in price recently was because Turkey actually banned it. And seeing that happen by a country, it's reasonable to assume that maybe other countries will also follow suit. I'm not really that worried. The trend is still heavily in the other way, as more larger companies are accepting it or adding it into their portfolios. Here's another comment. It actually fell to 51 at one point, but minutes later went back up to 55. Totally pointless post, which was dated before it was published. This is a lot more likes to laughs, 68 likes to 8 laughs and 3 hearts. So I would imagine the most people reading this, if they have any interest in crypto, they aren't people hating on it, they actually like it. So this guy's just saying that, hey, it was very brief that it crashed so much, and now it's actually back to 55, and there's actually some decent support around 55. So it's likely going to go up, within a week or a couple weeks or so. Jason says, I blame NFTs and stocks, mostly because there are also worlds I see often that I don't understand. 45 laughs to 37 likes. In this context, the laughing emojis are probably in agreement. And I'll be honest, this is often how I feel when people talk smack about Tesla or crypto or AI or like all of the possibilities. Whenever somebody says this is not possible, I understand that it's scary, and like even I don't don't understand it. But to say something is not possible with so much confidence, this is exactly how I feel. I think a lot more things are more likely than you can imagine. It's just about a matter of time span. And also, if you are older though, I think it is very hard to understand this concept. This is such a new thing. And if you were to ask a majority of cryptocurrency holders, I don't even think they could properly explain what it is they're holding, what they do. Most people are not coders, so they're not going to be able to understand it at a deep level. I can only understand it on a top level. And also, I have to trust the people that are experts when they're telling me this is how this thing works, because I don't have the time, resources, or knowledge to really test it myself, at least not yet. I would like to though. Aaron says that means buy as much as you can afford before it shoots back up. That's exactly how I felt. And I'm still feeling some residual FOMO. A little bit more about what I did recently. I actually bought a lot, not a whole Bitcoin, but a tangible amount of Bitcoin at roughly $62,000 per Bitcoin. Now, that's pretty late. I have been holding some Bitcoin before, but it only took till recently, when I had some space to look more deeply into it, that I really started to build my conviction. And because I think it's going to go to $100,000 roughly by the end of the year, when I compare it to alternate investments, yes, Bitcoin has already, I don't know, 200 or 300x. It's grown so much, and people might think it's too late to get in because it's just too late. But when I compare it to my alternative opportunities, if I still believe that Bitcoin is going to hit a $500,000 per coin in 10 years or so, that's actually still a really, really good opportunity. So even buying it a little bit more expensive, I think it's fine. I don't know if it's going to go up or go down. Nobody can time it, but I believe in it right now, so I will invest more into it. That's really it. There's no point in FOMOing, because we could all FOMO about something we should have bought 5 years ago. There's a million things we could have 100x'd if we could go back in time. 11% is nothing when it comes to Bitcoin. Yeah, that's true. Bitcoin has much, much more aggressive fluctuations than that. Here, of course, Elon is going to be called out. Elon's always talked about in these threads, Elon is going to be investigated by the SEC. Elon talks a lot about crypto, a lot about Dogecoin, and I personally think he's still a citizen of the US. He's allowed to say what he wants, unless he's actively manipulating it and profiting off of it, but I don't really think he does. He's always been that way. He's kind of a troll. He likes to make jokes. He shares memes. He already has enough money. He doesn't need to put himself in danger by consciously manipulating stuff. He just blows off steam on Twitter. Thanks for the dip so I could buy more cheaper. Yep. Chance to buy more. Yep. Tyree, or let's call him Emmanuel, says, someone please tell me what really is Bitcoin. How does it function? What is it legal business? I'm going to like this because I think a lot of us have the same exact question. And here we have some replies. Look up blockchain. Wikipedia is an invalid source. Okay, this isn't very helpful. Let's just look at some other top-rated comments. Why do we fall, sir? So that we can learn to pick ourselves up. This is a Batman quote. When Batman fell down and he felt like giving up, Alfred gave him a helping hand and pulled him back up. And he's just trying to tell Bitcoin holders, don't be scared. We're going to hit 70 plus K soon. I like that reference. That's cute. Here we have Renault. I see a lot of uneducated talk here. It reminds me of 2017. For those of you who have more insight, hodl or hold. The others are jealous or don't know much about crypto and are scared. We need people like that to make us feel good every time Bitcoin has a new high. I think the key to this comment is just uneducation. Just because you are a bull or a bear doesn't mean you're smarter or more educated than anybody. I think there are valid reasons to not want to hold too much Bitcoin or any Bitcoin. But in order to have those valid reasons, you actually would need to understand it more. So I think the key is don't really be jealous or mad, or don't really think about what other people think or how they're scared or not. You are responsible for your own education and your own conviction. So try not to need other people to make you feel good, or need even the market to justify your own investment, because the reality is the market goes up and the market goes down for great companies, for bad companies. We are looking at it long term. That's what most successful investors do. So find stocks or investments that you have high conviction in, and these fluctuations will not matter. This is an interesting comment. If paper currency is so useless, Why are they exchanged these coins for it? Something is not right about this fake coin currency. I'd never get into it. Gold and USD for me all the way. So if someone were to say currency is useless, that's not accurate. Obviously, most of the world still runs on currency right now. But to say that this is a fake coin currency, the sentiment of this is that this is made up. But the reality is that cash, fiat, it's also made up. It's controlled by a few select people or sources in power. And we as a society have given value to this. But the reality is $1 bill or $100 bill is just a piece of paper. If you are skeptical about Bitcoin, you should also probably be skeptical about cash. And even gold, it used to have some utility because we would use it in certain things we build. But right now, gold is not really a super important commodity. It's not something that we use that much. The value of gold is just a hedge against inflation now. Gold has just been around for so long that by default, it still has value. But how we value things are constantly changing. So the same reservations you have about crypto, I would have about gold and USD as well. Oh, look, a sale, yay. Let's see if there are any more interesting comments. Here we go. Nothing backing up that currency other than other people duped into it. It's a glorified Ponzi scheme. Here we have Ponzi scheme again. Let's see some responses. And what backs up fiat currency? And don't say gold because we don't have enough gold reserves to come anywhere near what has been printed. So, this is something I haven't mentioned. In the past, cash was actually tied to gold. We used the gold standard to give value to our cash because when cash was just created, we knew that this was just sheets of paper. It took some time to trust it. And once we tied it to a physical thing, then we understood, okay, this has value because it's tied to this physical thing that we could trade and use. But the reality is cash has not been tied to gold for a long time. And we literally, or our government is literally just printing out cash like it's nothing. We're just shooting out the money printer. And when we're just shooting out cash like this, who decides how much cash we shoot out and what happens to the existing circulation of cash? Obviously, it's going to become devalued because, today I have $100, but then $100 appears from thin air and everybody's getting a slice of that. Our existing $100 isn't going to be worth that much because there's just so much more cash floating around. Here is a hot take. This person thinks it'll go back to the original $5 because it's not backed by government. So are you saying that it has to be backed by the government or a precious metal to give it value? Maybe. I mean, that is why there is risk. Government does give you a certain amount of protection, but how much do we trust our government? And how much are things going to change? So if our government one day accepts crypto, is it okay? Does that mean there's no risk anymore? So I actually think I reached the end of this thread. But yeah, let me know what you think. Are you holding any crypto? Do you think we are going to have a bigger crash this year? It's anyone's guess, but I want to know your thoughts. If this was helpful at all, please consider liking or subscribing. I also have a couple of links to Coinbase and Blockfi if you want to start buying crypto. Those are two of my favorite exchanges, and it makes it very, very easy for even a beginner to purchase some. You can get a nice sign up bonus, and it will also help out my channel. This is Green Knight Trading, where Squires become knights. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you soon.